Welcome to the broadcast, my fruit crumbles. The press have been going wild about the lady vanishing. The lady has vanished, disappeared from view and transmogrified. And don't get it twisted, I am not complaining about it. I really am not complaining about it, but they want to know where she is. They want to know what she's up to. And they're going to discuss that. They're also going to discuss lots of things regarding the upcoming coronation. And then after we've had a good cosy gossip about all of that, we're going to have a wonderful, you guessed it, tip jar corner. Yes, I'm going to be showing you another caddy of my tip jar treat finds. Lots of twinkly things, including the silver chair that I promised I would show you that I found for just £15. So I'm going to be showing that off for you. And I will take the moment to thank those of you who have contributed to my privy purse, my tip jar. It's very kind of you. It's a small handful of you, but it makes a great thrill for me to wake up and see that you've treated me to a coffee or a jemmy or something along those lines. So I really do thank you most sincerely for doing that and for making the whole frame of this broadcast a little twinklier, a little more fun for all of the fruits in the basket. I'm very touched, very moved, and also to say it's totally not necessary. So please, if you don't feel compelled to do it, if you haven't taken pleasure in my broadcasts, and if you don't have any spare dollar to do such a thing, never ever think that you need to, my dear. It is just simply there as a cherry on top for those that ask, because I'm persistently asked for ways to express your gratitude for my time in broadcasting to you. So I just want to make that clear. Angela Jones makes a point in follow-up to the previous broadcast where I thanked Meghan Markle for her decision not to come to the broadcast for whatever reason. And Angela Jones says, "Thanks, River, for having the courtesy to be grateful for Meghan's decision. It's hypocritical when some who didn't want her there complain when she decides not to come. And it gives Meghan the opportunity of stating that whatever she does is perceived to be wrong." Well, thank you, Angela Jones, for recognising that. And, my last broadcast, it picked up a lot of traction and quite a few views. And as is normal, a few casual observers popped in to share their thoughts and grievances. And they are welcome to do so. And they are welcome to make a judgment on what they see. But just for any newcomers here, you might want to get a bit educated if you're rushing to judgments about racism, for example. You can throw anything you like at me, Gia, if you find that you don't enjoy my disparagement and occasional defence of the Duchess of Sussex or the Duke of Sussex. Do as you will, my dear, that is your right. Just as Harry and Meghan put themselves out there and sought publicity, they have to deal with the response to that. And in a very small way, a microcosm of that macrocosm, I have to do the same. I understand that. But I will not tolerate your disgusting, vile claims that I am racist simply because I don't care for their machinations. It is so lazy and it is so damaging and destructive to society that you wish to silence people by using those sort of aspersions and casting them at your will. It's disgusting, and not that I feel the need to justify myself to you whatsoever, but you need educating, because you obviously haven't been watching my broadcast for long. Half my family are black, as I've stated many times. Most of my lovers have been black or brown, most of them. Only this morning I was speaking to one of the great loves of my life, one of the most beautiful black men that you will ever find walking the face of this planet. Beautiful. And I'm not talking Meghan Markle black, darling. I'm talking black as night. Black as the glorious, beautiful night and twinkling with stars, my dear. Beautiful ebony. Fine black gentleman. And the nephew that I spoke of, coming up to 4 years old in one of my recent broadcasts, is not white, is biracial. As are many members of my family. As are most of my audience here in the fruit basket. My fruit crumbles. If you've stuck around for any length of time, you can go through the comments and look in previous broadcasts where we've discussed this. And there are all kind of flavours, all kind of stripes popping out. There was a wonderful discussion going on between some Mexicans I saw a couple of broadcasts ago. Lots of Mexican fruits coming out to say hello, lots of Latino. I have fruits from Asia, Indonesia, every continent under the sun. I might even have a North Korean or two. Let me know, won't you, my dears? So I'm not having any of this. There is warmth in all shades, from the palest ivory to the darkest ebony, and beauty and wisdom amongst all of them. But there's also some jerks. There's also some jerks in all of those. And, you know, I make no apology about rooting out those jerks who are damaging society. You know, the icons in my life range from the Shirley Bassies to the Grace Joneses to the Missy Elliots, my dear, to the Foxy Browns. Yes, give me some Foxy Brown, my dear. Honestly. Don't assume that you know my race, because these people who will complain that I'm racist, and I'm talking about a tiny little droplet here in the ocean of rivulets, my dear, a tiny little, you know, these people that complain about you, I have never told you my racial mix. I have never once declared my heritage. So how dare you look at me? You're happy to look at the young Black Prince. You're happy to look at the young Black Prince Archie. And you're happy to look at the young woman of colour in the form of Lilibet, the Black Princess. You're happy to look at them and tell the world not to disparage them because they're black. And by the way, I'm speaking to fruits of all colours here, because it's not just black people that might suggest that I'm racist. It can often, and sometimes more, be well-meaning, guilty white folk. You're happy to look at those children and make up a certain mind about them and protect them. But you see this, and all you seem to see is my colour, because you have no idea of my racial mix, my dear. I haven't informed you of that insight. So, who's the bigot now? Who is the bigot now? How dare you just assume that you know everything about my heritage and my colour and my proud colour? You know nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort, my dear. It beggars belief, it truly does. You know, you protect them Pickney. You look over at them Pickney, you protect them. You see me, you come chirps in my ear. Summarise me, look me over as if you know what what. Well, you don't. Well, I digress, my dear. Thank you for that comment, Angela. And on the subject of the lady vanishing, well, firstly, no, I am not complaining. So no, there's no hypocrisy from me, my dear. It's wonderful to have some peace and quiet from the gal. I think maybe it'll continue, but we all know what's going on behind the scenes. We all know that the silence and the peace will not last for long. The press is suggesting that she feels that she's done what she can with Britain. She's caused enough chaos, and now she's just going to leave everybody in the kingdom to deal with it, and for Harry and his family to deal with it. She's got to focus on her audience of insensibles in America. Good luck, America, dear, my gorgeous American fruits. Oh, you've got it all coming, my dear. There's going to be a huge wave soon of the TikTok, social media, everything, now that it's got clearing for the patent. Yes, TV, podcasting, social media, everything, my dear. So, firstly, I'm not complaining. Secondly, my great objection to Meghan and Harry prattling on is the fact that they still call themselves Duke and Duchess. They still refer to their royalty. They are not just living as private citizens. So I have no desire to suppress their voices, but I will speak up when they use those voices to disparage my nation and my monarchy. And I make no apology for it. Apparently Meghan will be showing her prowess and her expertise on the subjects of food, cooking, recipes, travel, fashion, style. She's going to be a blend of Martha Stewart, Carol Middleton, and who else, my dear? Anna Wintour? A blend. She can do everything, that gal. Everything. The arts, culture, design, conscious living, and health and wellness. Also throw a bit of Gwynnie in there too, of course. We forgot, didn't we? She wants the scoop of the goop. And commentary in the field of personal relationships. I ask you, what a pro she is at those, my dear. What a pro. And that Tig Tog firm, the Tig is Delaware-based with a Frim Fram, her production company, Frim Fram, run by from LA with her business manager Andrew Mayer. And Archewell, on the other side, are rumoured to be branching out into fiction production. You couldn't make it up, could you? Fiction production. Well, they're already rather good at that, aren't they? That's all they've presented us with so far. You're telling me that Spare ain't fiction by J.R. Moore? You're telling me that what they call a documentary on Netflix, on Beanflix, is non-fiction? I ask you. Said to be hiring writers to develop ideas for romantic comedies. Well, they could use their own as a base, couldn't they? And other positive programmes. Meghan Markle has a juvenile, unsophisticated sense of humour. She possesses sophistication in other ways. Manipulation. Confidence trickstering. Many ways. I'm trying to think of some positive ones. Sophistication. No, it eludes me. But I'm sure she does in some ways, to be fair to the girl. But I'm afraid sense of humour is not one of them. Although I will say I've always thought that beneath the veneer there might be a very, very dark sense of humour at play in the background that has some sophistication. Maybe. It was interesting listening to her progress throughout the Archetypes broadcasts and reading into things, but who knows. But in general, very juvenile, girly, laughing as if she's a 12-year-old Heather or, Sweet Valley High, whatever it is. Unsophisticated. Déclassé, my dear, déclassé. But also, if you're new here, I do not hate Meghan Markle, and that is why my content is not hateful, I'm afraid. No, it is not. It might be playfully catty, but it is fair-minded. Even if you don't agree with me, it's reasoned, it's logical, and also what you might want to know if you're new here, my dear. And by the way, you'll soon get addicted to me and start loving me. I get comments like that all the time. I wasn't sure about when I first parked my car here. It wasn't where I expected to be, but a few broadcasts in, and I've come to realise that I judged you too hastily. So think about it. Think about things, my dear. But I don't have hate for her or Harry. I hate what they did, and I've said that multiple times. I'll continue to do it. And I'm also one of the very few voices I'm aware of that has never even indulged one conspiracy theory. Not one through any broadcast that I have ever made. Yes. Not even hedged around it. I haven't even gone there. And if I suspected any of those rumours to be true, I wouldn't be afraid to go there. But I'm yet to be convinced. So I don't. I'm not saying I never will, but so far I have not. So I think that is fair in a free world and a free country for me to voice those opinions. And I don't encourage hate of any kind. I try to actively quell that kind of feeling, actually, and try and make people take the whole scenario a bit less seriously and be a bit more playful about it. I don't accuse them of all kinds of... I don't put them on a par with the Hindleys of this world or the Hitlers of this world. No, I don't. I just think they're a pair of prats most of the time. And they've probably got a rather charming side a lot of the time as well. In fact, I know they have, because they charm many people, and not all of them are stupid. But a lot of people are duped and don't see beyond the superficial, which is why me and folk like me are here to put a little bit of correction at work, in the hope that a few insensibles might realise what's going on. And that is what it has transgressed over the past couple of years. Because some of the people that they originally fooled after that interview on Oprah Winfrey came round and saw the light on the basis of evidence and on the basis of 17 lies emerging, fabrications, misremembrances, recollections that might vary, my dear. This year, we have seen nothing of Meghan. We've only seen one photo on March the 8th when she was doing charitable work at the Harvest Home charity. No public official events so far. On May the 16th, she will get an airing. She's going to be attending the Women of Vision Awards in New York, presented with an award by Glow Stanham. Oh, glow, glow, glow. honouring her as a feminist, champion of human rights and gender equity, and a global role model. Oh, bravo, my darling girl. Deepak Chopra has been saying some interesting things lately, that spiritual guru. He appeared on Archetypes, in case you don't remember, some while back, so he's cosy with the Harkles, or thinks he is. Well, he told Richard Eden this week, he said, "I enjoyed the podcast and interacted with them. Our work together has been periodic. They are struggling right now." Oh, well, that's in contrast to what Harry says, because he seems to insinuate that they are thriving. Never been happier. Never been happier. Yeah, just love America and love this new life. And yeah, so much better. Twitch, twitch, twitch. Where's the leaves? Where's the leaves? Where's the wacky backy? Well, according to Deepak Chopra, Oprah Chopra, they are struggling right now. I hope they get through it lighthearted, he says. I think there's, and this is the crazy bit, I think there's too much drama around them. People should mind their own business. Has he heard himself? Has he heard himself? Too much drama. Too much drama. Who's created that drama? Did they really think that they could just do a Harry and drop the bomb? Drop the bomb. In Harry's little oh-so-charming way. You know. Hail fellow, well met. And the like. Drop the bomb and just scram and no one say anything, just let it detonate. No, my dear, that ain't how the world works. You came out with your book full of drama, you came out with your talk shows full of drama, your Jeremy Kyles, your Oprah Winfrey, your Trisha Goddards, what have you, podcasts, interviews in magazines, never shutting your trap, Colbert, Corden. You want drama? You get it. Get it? Got it? Good. You came for it, darling, and you got it. You invited the drama. Deal with it. They are entitled to their opinions and having their voice out there and their opinions heard, but we are too. In response, we are too. That's how it works, my dear. Do you not understand, some of you fruitcakes out there? This is why many of us have a little bit of an teensy bit of a problem. Because yes, Meghan's being oh so quiet right now, but behind the scenes, she's hiring all kinds of institutes and all kinds of people, and Archwell getting in touch with all kinds to shut down any voices that they deem inappropriate. They deem inappropriate, that they think are a threat to society and the world. It's all right for them to release vicious books. It's all right for them to reveal secrets about their family. It's all right for them to cut off and shut out various relatives who may or may not have misbehaved and slate them on a national scale. It's all right for them, you know. But if anyone else dare chip in with their opinion, oh, no. We must bop them out of town. It's believed that Harry will be staying at Frogmore if he stays over during the coronation. Some think he won't even be staying the night. He'll just be in and out, which is wonderful. Some say that he could stay there a little bit longer. Some say that he'll be staying there if he returns to fight his court case with the media. And it's said that Harry has been assured that he will be protected when attending events with the royal family over the coronation weekend, but will have to privately fund his security if he is socialing outside of the main events. So, mind you, they're saying that he's earned 33 million out of his book so far. That's the number being bandied around now. And I'm afraid I disagree with those who think that his book was a flop and that he didn't make any money out of it. I think the money's been rolling in. And I'm delighted for him. I just hope he remembers to leave a thank you note for his father and his family, because without them he wouldn't have been able to merch and make all of those millions and trillions and gazillions. Now let us turn to some more regal matters before we progress to Tip Jar Corner. The Sovereign's Parade. Yes, King Charles inspected the 200th Sovereign's Parade at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, and this parade marks the completion of 44 weeks of intensive training for the 171 officer cadets who are commissioning as army officers. The king presented the new colours and the sovereign's banner to the receiving ensigns. The old colours that belonged to the late Elizabeth were marched on parade with the cadets passing the statue of Queen Elizabeth II. And during his address, the king praised the efforts of the officer cadets, and also, you may have seen, he joked about surviving his own military training 50 years ago. He spoke of his pride in his sons. Yes, he spoke as a father of 2 alumni from this academy and said that he knew the immense pride that they would both be feeling, because both William and Harry successfully graduated as officer cadets from the academy. I was most relieved to hear that the most sacred part of the coronation ceremony, the holy anointing, is to be kept hidden from view. And oh, it's so tempting to want to have a glimpse of that holy moment, isn't it? But some things are best left to the imagination, and one of those things is the holy anointing. So that will be kept hidden from view. It hasn't been revealed how yet, and I'm getting super excited about this coronation. I still keep watching clips of the late Queen's coronation, hearing the music, and bristling up, although I do have some complaints, but we'll save that for another broadcast. One rumour that was going around a few weeks ago, do you remember, was that the canopy this time to cover the moment of anointing was going to be, instead of obscure, a sort of see-through translucent gold brocade or a fine thread, which I was kind of, maybe that would be kind of, a nice compromise, just to get little snatches of glimpses and shadows. But people aren't sure now that if there's going to be a canopy at all, which I find that disappointing. But I've got fingers crossed that they have found an elegant way to do this, and I'm relieved to hear that it is going to be kept private, this moment of anointing. I am disappointed, of course, that the Archbishop of Canterbury incumbent is Justin Welby, and I do feel a bit mean about saying it. I don't have a comprehensive overview of him. He doesn't appeal to me at all. I wish it was a different archbishop that was doing all these things. People say, and I think they're right, that he's hung around longer than a lot of archbishops because he knew that the Queen's death was coming, so he could do the funeral and the coronation. It's kind of big kudos. Perhaps I'm being very, very unfair on the chap. Perhaps I am, but I wish it was somebody else. Anyway, he's the one that gets to do the anointing, you see. He's going to be pouring the holy oil from the ampulla onto the coronation spoon and anointing the sovereign on the hands, the breast and the head. And Camilla will also be anointed, our Queen, and this takes place before the investiture and the crowning of the monarch. And the tradition, as we've spoken of before, is based on the Old Testament, where the anointing of Solomon by Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet is described. The coronation oil has been made for the occasion using olives harvested from the groves on the Mount of Olives, which is the burial place of the king's granny, the Mad Princess Alice of Battenberg fruit cake. And this was also a lovely story about a new maze that is being created and has been commissioned. It is only, and this was rather surprising, in 300 years there have only been 2 new royal mazes created, and both were charged by Charles. First of all, in his role as the Prince of Wales at Dumfries House in Ayrshire, which was saved for the nation and restored in 2007. He organised one there. And this new one is to be at Balmoral, opening next year, and the preparation for the planting has begun. It's going to be 6 foot high and shaped in a thistle. How lovely is that? The national flower of Scotland. So we're excited to see that next year. It's already appearing on the maps of the area. Exciting. And as for royal coins, well, there's commemorative editions that are being released, which featuring the first crowned effigy of the king. These will appear on 50p and £5 coins, and they're to be released on the 24th of April. The king wears the Tudor crown, taking after the tradition of King George VI, his grandfather. And this Tudor crown, although no longer existing physically, was personally selected by Charles, and the effigy was designed by old Martin Jennings, that artist and sculptor who has been doing a lot of these things for the royal family lately. And the 50p piece features an emblazoned drawing of Westminster Abbey, and the image includes the royal cipher of the king, which has really grown on me in a great way. I love that royal cipher, and a crown to symbolise the king's presence in the abbey at the moment of crowning. And the £5 coin features symbols and the coronation regalia, and there are several editions and sizes available. And if you're rich, there is a solid gold proof coin, 1 kilogram in weight, and £77,000. So you can throw that in my privy purse if you want to, my dear. Thank you very much. Ching ching. It is my understanding that the king has attended one rehearsal for the coronation, an informal affair. They're aiming for a 90-minute service, I believe, but it overran, significantly overran, are the words behind the scenes. And this took place at Buckingham Palace. They built a replica stage area, a replica coronation area, to scale. They've been going through it without coronation robes, which are very heavy and, to be honest, complete pain for the king and the queen, but kind of has to be done, these ceremonial robes. And this is building up to a flurry of rehearsals that will culminate in a full dress rehearsal at Westminster Abbey. It's been penciled in for April the 21st. So, woo! So much at stake, isn't there? Getting the jitters. It must be a nerve-wracking experience. I mean, they always appear very cool, calm and collected. And at all of these goings-on, which was so fascinating over the Jubilee and the late Queen's death, weren't they? So fascinating and wonderful to watch and theatrical. Cut the atmosphere with a knife, but in a good way. Just one drop of something, one of these bishops walking along with the regalia, just one slip. Or, the pressure. Awful, 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 but I'm sure it'll all be smooth sailing, my dear. Of course it will. And I just wanted to share with you these rather nice images that I saw of coronation chairs from the past coming up for auction at Chiswick Auctions. This pair, bearing Elizabeth's cipher, going for around £7,000, which I thought was interesting because I saw that in 2020 a pair went for £850. So I'm not sure if they're cashing in on coronation fever. Perhaps the condition of these two chairs more recently is better. But originally the velvet was blue on these limed oak and beech chairs made by W. Hands and Son in 1953. And also you can purchase chairs from the coronation of King George VI, going for £2,000 to £3,000. And this one I thought was rather jolly. It's from the Prince of Wales's investiture back in 1969. What a jolly read. And it comes in a beautiful cardboard box as well. How fun. Oh, and by the way, those chairs at the late Queen's coronation, they could have been purchased by the people that sat on them, because they created, as you may know, thousands more chairs on scaffolding in Westminster Abbey. It was thousands, 10 times as many as what's going to be at Charles's. Now it would be far too dangerous for health and safety, this kind of thing, and logistics. So it's been cut down to scale. There were so many there, and they were offered the chance to buy the chairs at the time. Anyway, this investor chair in jolly red, it looks like it wouldn't be that kind to the buttocks, doesn't it? That's estimated to go for £800 to £1,200. And also, while I was on that, I really wanted to show this to you, my dears, and I know that I'm a bit of a sap and go on about how kind and nice Charles really can be, along with this rather tempestuous side as well. Nobody's perfect, but they really are a lovely couple, because I saw this letter that he wrote personally, signed by him and the Duchess of Cornwall, as she was, our dear Camilla, signed by them, obviously personally dictated from his own mouth to the facilities manager at the Guildhall where he wed Camilla in 2005. He took the time. If you don't realise how impossibly busy this man is and how his life is, you hear these mythical kind of stories about how he never sleeps, he's working to the early hours, up at the crack of dawn, he doesn't stop, he's always on the go, he's always thinking, he's writing dozens and dozens of handwritten letters every day. And it's so funny when something like this comes up for auction, because you see it. This was something that was never required or asked of him, and he took the time out of his very busy day as the Prince of Wales to write to the facilities manager. And it wasn't just thank you for your help, blah, 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 with an initial. It was a proper, thoughtful letter. And I just think that speaks volumes about the man's character. He didn't know this was ever going to see the light of day or be auctioned off. It's just one example, I think, of how decent they are, how decent they both are. Sorry to bring them into the equation as well, but they're the ones that bring a lot of this up. So it's fair to compare. But, you know, the Harkles, we hear a lot about, you know, Meghan baking her cookies for everyone and the curlicue calligraphied handwriting. And that's wonderful. I believe people that say that she makes a fabulous friend and goes the extra mile and makes an effort and cooks roast chicken. But guess what? She ain't the only one. I know Glow Steinem and the Gracies are tripping over themselves to honour this fine feminist and, you know, the gallant Duke of Sussex for being such superheroes, but they ain't the only one, and nor is the King and Queen. Most of us take the time to be considerate. You know, if we're decent human beings, most of us take the time to drum up these habits of good character throughout our lives, don't we? You know, I'm not queuing up for a Gracie, my dear. Oh no, I can shove your disgracie up your rear end, because the late Gracie Allen would be turning blue in her grave, my dear. If she was buried, I don't know. But, you know, these people need to think again, truly. But that is quite enough tittle-tattle for now, isn't it, my dears? It is time for Tip Jar Corner. Isn't this a beautiful image? The lion and the unicorn fighting for the crown. And I'm using it to showcase this fabulous necklace that I picked up for just £8 at my local charity shop, Cancer Research, in brilliant blue gemmies and a deeper blue teardrop there at the bottom. I thought it's so nice. I'm presenting it there on a scarlet ribbon. And I love the heart shapes. I think they'll look fabulous around the neck. I love the way that the gold appears like a brocade surrounding the brilliant blues. And it's just on a very simple string. But I thought that was really rather fabulous. I'm looking forward to wearing that for you. And I was very tickled to come across this tobacco tin from times past of a brand called Nosegay, and I'm sure some of you will have heard of it, but I'd certainly never heard of it. It looks rather old, and can you imagine tobacco? Because, you know, I love that word. I use that word all the time to describe little bouquets and posies and sprigs, and I'm using it to showcase these lovely earrings in a square shape with pale yellow gemmies, very delicate, surrounded by lovely tiny little smattering of diamonds there. I love the colour of that tin, by the way, the green and the red. I think it's very royal. Now, these I thought were super classy, if you will, super elegant. I love the plush velvet. It's something rather different. And I love the pearl drops at the top. And I'm showcasing them on a pair of curtains that I found that are very royal. They were rather cheap at £8, and they're very thick, and I'll be able to use them within the frame here in the broadcast at some point. Now, you really enjoyed this headband that I wore for you recently in beautiful gold sequins, lovely pearls, some almost neon green gemmies next to these very pale mauve flowers that have a real softness next to the striking brilliance of the gemmies and the sequins. Wonderful. And I love the colourways of this book that I found too at the second-hand store. Lovely minty green and red stripes, and there's a dedication inside. I love it when I discover these. This was in blue from Christmas 1950, and it's a very weighty tome. I haven't read it yet, by the way, so I'm not recommending any of these books. These are all new books that I found at the vintage stores. This also had a surprise inside, a little Christmas dedication there that I found. I love those little happy accidents. I love finding them. I love smelling books, by the way. I bury my nose in them, and they smell wonderful, and it brings you right back to that English spirit. Yes, the English spirit, and channeling the royal spirit at all times, my dear. So I'm intrigued to read that tome. And this necklace I thought was a wonderful bubblegum pink. You see those beads? Bubblegum pink. Next to some clear beads and some greyish beads. Lovely little cheap price there, but I think it'll look so whimsical and so fresh around my neck for you on one of my broadcasts. And this book had some fabulous illustrations in it, including this one of the Prince of Wales feathers. How glorious do they look? Wonderful. Lots of these old books have really good illustrations in them, and this one was about the prince who would be king, the life and death of Henry Stuart, one of the original Henrys. Look at the fire of these gemmies, my dear, the reds and the golds and the pinks, wonderful. I've shown you this headband, but I'm sure I'll wear it again. It's got a sort of burgundy wine colour to the striping and to the fur trim, lovely, with gold brocades running through it, and those teardrops, all kinds of shininess. Isn't it fabulous for those of us who are magpie-like in our aesthetic? Gorgeous there. And I'm presenting it on another book, The Usage and Abusage. This is another reference guide that'll be handy for me to have with regards to good English by Eric Partridge. And I always find these things come in handy when I least expect them. I rarely get round to going through the entire tome, my dear, but very handy as a reference guide, and especially these books from times past, because the standards were so much better, my dear, and no one's going to be caring or reading about English grammar in the not too distant future. So I like to have a reminder of when things were a little bit more proper and people really cared, and it smelt good as well, to be quite honest with you. Now, you will often find me surrounding my face with this sort of colour, mauves, lilacs, even purples, because it complements my green eyes. So I do tend to use that a lot, and you seem to enjoy it on me, and I'm showcasing it on this book of the late Duchess of Westminster, the albums of Louisa Westminster, or Lindsay, or Ponsonby, depending on which time of her life it was. You're going to hear about her in a future broadcast, because she's always fascinated me. This is her album that she produced towards her dotage of 200 personal photographs from her collection. Really fascinating life, my dear. She was one of the original bright young people, young things, ran with Cecil Beaton, that kind of crew, many characters. Every photograph tells a tale. She was very au fait with the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, although I get the feeling she wasn't overly impressed with Bessie Wallace, I've got to tell you, or the abdicated king. But her family went back very close. Her father was, I think, or was it grandfather? One of them was the master of the royal household for the previous king. Yes, her father. And then her relations worked for Queen Victoria, going back. So she was very close to them. She would have the Queen Mum around to her home, and her life was fascinating. She married the Duke of Westminster, who was super dripping in money, unbelievable wealth, huge country pile. We will go into all this in future, because I have a few things to tell you about her. This tiara broke the world record for most expensive piece of jewellery ever sold when she flogged it after her divorce to Bendor, who was the Duke of Westminster. And you will see in a moment I've purchased a book. Well, I've got a few books about Bendor, actually. I'm going to be talking about both the late Duke and Duchess of Westminster a bit more in future. But Bendor was named after a horse called Bend Or. It sounds like bend over, doesn't it? But his name was Bendor, and I'm showcasing the book about him on this chair that I found. I told you I found this exquisite chair for £15, possibly 25. I know it had a 5 in it, one of them. 15 quid, I think it was. A lovely silver bedroom chair. Well, I'd keep it around the boudoir, my dear, places like that. But it's very versatile because of its colour. It's a wonderful grey. But anyway, this book that I found was dedicated by the author, signed by the author, Mr. Ridley, and inside it too has some fascinating photographs. I'm looking forward to reading it, and some other tomes on the life of the Duke of Westminster. I know quite a lot about this pair because I have family that ran with them back in the day, but I need to refresh my memory because there are some tales to bring to you that I think you might enjoy. But, oh yes, he was quite a rogue that had his charming magnetic side, but also he was a tyrant. Well, my fruits, I hope you enjoyed that little caddy of excitement and twinkly things. Isn't it delicious, my dears? And once again, thank you so much to any of you who took the time to send a tip jar treat my way. It's truly appreciated. Thank you for making things sparkly here. And even if you didn't, thank you for making it extra sparkly down there in the fruit basket. Get typing away, my dears. Leave me some juicy comments. Come back and see me soon, won't you, my dear? And enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll catch up with you soon. Take care, my dears. Toodaloo and toodle pip.